On September 1st, 1931, Meher Baba sailed with 3 of his disciples from Karachi for England, where he stayed for 3 weeks. Passing through Europe, he set sail for the United States. He arrived in New York City on November 6th, 1931.
I have come to sow the seed of love in your hearts, so that in spite of all superficial diversity which your life in illusion must experience and endure, the feeling of oneness through love is brought about amongst all nations, creeds, sects, and castes of the world.
For 1 month, Meher Baba stayed in Harmon-on-the-Hudson, New York. As well as those staying with him, several hundred people came for brief interviews. One describes her first meeting.
My most outstanding impression of that first meeting is one of peering into bottomless pools of infinite love and tenderness as my eyes met his. My heart pounded with tremendous excitement, and for a while I could not speak. I felt that in an inexplicable way he was the reason for my very existence, that I had never really lived until this moment, and at the same time that he was deeply familiar and precious to me, even as I was no stranger, and very dear to him.
1 month after his arrival, Baba left America to return to India.
Sri Meher Baba has come from India with a message to the West. He does not convey this message by speaking, but by his mere presence. When he wishes to communicate with people, he uses this board and points to the letters on it. My object in coming to the West is not with the intention of establishing new creeds or spiritual societies and organizations, but is intended to make people understand religion in its true sense. I see the structure of all the great religions of the world tottering. The West is more inclined towards the material side of things, which has from untold ages brought in its wake pestilences, wars, and financial crises. I intend to bring together all religions and cults like beads on one string and revitalize them for individual and collective needs. This is my mission to the West.
In May 1932, Meher Baba returned to America. He arrived in New York amid a blare of publicity and stayed for 4 days.
America has tremendous energy, but most of this energy is misdirected. I intend to divert it into spiritual and creative channels.
Baba and his party left New York, traveling by train via Chicago to Southern California. They were welcomed in Pasadena by a gathering of friends who had met him in 1931. The party drove to Hollywood, where Baba planned to visit film studios and the actors and the filmmakers of the day. He visited Paramount Studios during the filming of The Devil in the Deep, meeting Tallulah Bankhead, Gary Cooper, and Charles Lawton. Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks held a reception in Baba's honor at Pick Fair. Here, Baba gave the following message to the film world.
I do not need to tell you, who are engaged in the production and distribution of moving pictures, what a power you hold in your hands. Nor do I doubt that you are fully alive to the responsibility which the wielding of that power involves. Plays which inspire those who see them to greater understanding, truer feeling, better lives, need not necessarily have anything to do with so-called religion. Creed, ritual, dogma, the conventional ideas of heaven and hell and sin are perversions of the truth, and confuse and bewilder rather than clarify and inspire. Real spirituality is best portrayed in stories of pure love, of selfless service, of truth realized and applied to the most humble circumstances of our daily lives, raying out into manifold expression through home and business, school and college, studio and laboratory, evoking everywhere the highest joy, the purest love, the greatest power, producing everywhere a constant symphony of bliss. This is the highest practicality. To portray such circumstances on the screen will make people realize that the spiritual life is something to be lived, not talked about, and that it and it alone will produce the peace and love and harmony which we seek to establish as the constant of our lives.
Meher Baba arrived in New York on December 12, 1934, and after 1 week left for Hollywood, staying there for 1 month. He was returning to Hollywood after 2.5 years. There were many people waiting to see him, but his visit this time was kept as quiet as possible, he devoting most of his time to interviews in connection with a film project.
Baba had promised to come in person to further explain details of the film. Initial discussion and correspondence on the project had begun in January 1934. In a letter dated April 1934, he had written,
I am preparing a detailed chart with illustrations explaining all details about the creation, evolution, reincarnation, the planes, illumination, and realization for the film.
His scenario outline was based on the theme of reincarnation. A group of souls become involved with each other, change roles in the next 2 or 3 lives, and through intense working out of karma, plus the grace of the avatar, achieve God realization at the end of these very few lives. Sandwiched in between was a condensed explanation of the whole process of evolution. The project appeared to seesaw between success and failure, always spurred on and encouraged by letters and cables from Baba. Finally, the making of the film was indefinitely postponed.
Life is a mighty joke. He who knows this can hardly be understood by others. He who does not know it finds himself in a state of delusion. He may ponder over his problem day and night, but will find himself incapable of knowing it. Why? People take life seriously and God lightly, whereas we must take God seriously and take life lightly.
Love is essentially self-communicative. Those who do not have it catch it from those who have it. Those who receive love from others cannot be its recipients without giving a response which, in itself, is the nature of love. True love is unconquerable and irresistible. It goes on gathering power and spreading itself until, eventually, it transforms everyone it touches.
I love children, and never feel more happy than when amongst them, as I then feel myself to be a child. I prefer to have time to play with them rather than have garlanding and ceremonies, especially because I am expert in playing marbles. Ages ago, when I woke up, I began to play marbles with the universe.
Ordinary man suffers for himself. Masters suffer for humanity, whereas the Avatar suffers for one and all beings and things.
In 1952, after nearly 18 years, Meher Baba returned to America. He stayed at the Meher Center, a retreat established for him in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. After 1 month, he and a group of followers left by car for Ojai, California. They were not to reach their destination. On May 24th, Meher Baba and his followers were injured in a serious automobile accident not far from the town of Prague, Oklahoma. Baba was thrown from the car and lay, for some time, bleeding by the side of the road. The party was taken to a small clinic in town where they were treated. In June that year, Meher Baba dictated,
The personal disaster, for some years foretold by me, has at last happened while crossing the American continent, causing me through facial injuries, a broken leg and arm, much mental and physical suffering. It was necessary that it should happen in America. God willed it so.
Meher Baba remained in Prague for 13 days before returning by ambulance to Myrtle Beach. He convalesced there and in New York before returning via England and Switzerland to India.
In 1956, and again in 1958, Meher Baba visited his followers in America, passing through New York and staying for 1-week periods in Myrtle Beach, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. He said,
It is your love which has drawn me back to the West. I am very happy to meet you all today. I give my love to you all. I know that you love me. If you can love me more and more, then there will be a day when you realize me as I am. I am not this physical form. I am the ocean, the unlimited ocean of love.
The aim of life is to love God. The goal of life is to become one with God. To do this, you have not to renounce the world, but to renounce low desires, dishonesty, and hypocrisy. Then, in the midst of activities, you will be loving God as He should be loved.
In describing the times of the coming of the Avatar, Meher Baba has said, Avataric periods are like the springtide of creation. The Avatar awakens contemporary humanity to a realization of its true spiritual nature, gives liberation to those who are ready, and quickens the life of the spirit in his time. For posterity is left the stimulating power of his divinely human example, the nobility of a life supremely lived, of a love unmixed with desire, of a power unused except for others, of a peace untroubled by ambition, of a knowledge undimmed by illusion. He has demonstrated the possibility of a divine life for all humanity, of a heavenly life on earth. Those who have the necessary courage and integrity can follow when they will. Those who are spiritually awake have been aware for some time that the world is at present in the midst of a period such as always precedes avataric manifestations. Even unawakened men and women are becoming aware of it now. From their darkness, they are reaching out for light. In their sorrow, They are longing for comfort. From the midst of the strife into which they have found themselves plunged, they are praying for peace and deliverance. When, from the depths of his heart, man desires something more lasting than wealth, something more real than material power, then peace will come. Joy will come. Light will come. I bring the greatest treasure which it is possible for man to receive. A treasure which includes all other treasures, which will endure forever, which increases when shared with others. Be ready to receive it